This young man has made the decision to drop out of school in order to support his family by working as a taxi driver. When the young man is cleaning his car in the morning, he finds an enigmatic phone. He thinks one of his clients must have misplaced it, but when he tries to turn it on, the phone discharges an energy burst that totally takes him by surprise. Intrigued, the young man puts down the phone and picks it back up. Just then, a man walks up to him and says, "I'm a bank representative." He tells the young man that the bank is owed $300 million by his parents and that he needs to pay the first $30 million this month to avoid having his house seized by the bank. The boy wants to work every day of the month to make money, so he starts his shift at night. A group of female actors wearing strange makeup and all white are his first writers. The actresses have an idea to film a movie in the graveyard. Another girl wearing a white dress gets into the taxi after he gives them a ride. The young man thinks that she and the actresses are friends. The girl walks straight through the taxi to get out. The girl is pulled back into the taxi and floats inside as she continues to walk. The young man faints out from fear. Feeling as though she might be dead, the girl exits the car once more. Jian, the girl, doesn't know who she is or how she passed away. The girl is still in the taxi when the young man awakens the following morning. Jian follows the running boy, but she gets pulled back into the car. The young man can barely bring himself to get back in his car as a traffic cop approaches. He is kindly asked to check if anyone is inside the taxi by the boy. The young man gets back into it because the officer does not see anyone, only to run into the ghost once more. They converse for a short while. Jian asks the boy if the reason she's stuck here is because he killed her with his taxi. Actually, she found blood in the rear seat. But last night, the young man proves to her that the actresses faked and spilled the blood. The girl is unable to move far, so the boy wants to get rid of her. She consistently goes back to the car, so it appears that there is a limit. The young man still needs to make money, regardless of the situation. He goes back to work, but there's a catch. His clients refuse to ride with him because they get sick when they're around the ghost. The young man is convinced to help her by the adorable ghost, so he visits the closest police station and asks if they know of a girl who looks like the one in the drawing who is in an accident. He then draws a sketch of her. The officer is informed by the young man that the girl might be anywhere. Shihan, who looks like a ghost and is between the ages of 20 and 40, tries to look in the mirror but is unable to see herself. Detectives looking into homicides are currently looking into a case involving G. In order to make sure the ghost can't follow him, the young man parks the taxi away from his house later that evening. After his unusual experience today, the boy runs straight into his grandmother Bunja's arms, who is waiting for him. In a strange dream while he's sleeping, the young man sees Jihan floating on top of him. His grandmother wakes him up from his terrified screams, and he discovers it's already morning. Bunja asks him to drive her, but the young man talks her into taking a seat in the back. Bunja feels ill all of a sudden. Additionally, Shihan talks to the young man, which makes him lose focus and crash into some trash. The young man drives the car to a temple after dropping off his grandmother, where two priestesses perform a ritual to purge the car of any evil energy. The ghost is still there, though. The young man drives Dr. Du to the hospital that evening after picking him up in his taxi. The presence of the ghost has no detrimental effects on the doctor. The young man remembers how the doctor at the hospital tried to save his mother's life after an incident. To express his gratitude for Dr. Du's help, the boy even gives him some juice. The boy visits a forum at home to ask questions regarding ghosts. In response, a user going by the name Flower Medium claims that ghosts are now entering their world because the gates have opened. The young man goes back to work the next day. He sees a man at one point motioning for him to stop. This man notices Shihan and the young man, which surprises me. To have a conversation with them, the boy leads the ghost to a private area. Shihan challenges Bion Cole, the other ghost, saying that she found the young man first. The young man chooses to go with Bion Cole for the time being, but he can't get into the taxi because of physical pain when he goes to pick up a real person. That evening, the young man considers his options as he looks at a picture of his mother, who has passed away. The third ghost materializes and tells Shihan that he has some golden jewelry in the back of his own old car. The following day, he intends to sell his taxi and buy a new car. Help is needed to deliver the jewelry to the ghost's wife and daughter. With the help of the man experiences catharsis and passes from this world to the next. When he returns, his daughter gives him a golden ring as a parting gift since it gave her the opportunity to say goodbye to her father. Beyond Cole gets back in the taxi and asks if they can help him too. Beyond Cole even says he has gold hidden in the house he used to live in, so he can pay them back for their help. He can assist the youth in locating and retaining it. Shihan makes a hypothesis. Perhaps they are ghost taxis. They will grant their wishes and help them pass over to the next realm if the ghosts can make some sort of payment. The young man thinks they could give it a shot. Beyond Cole starts out by explaining how, just 1 month after marrying Yen, the love of his life, he perished in a workplace accident. After the young man takes him home, Beyond Cole informs him that he never got the chance to fulfill the promise he made to his wife to install a bathtub for her. The young man changes his mind as he sees Cole's wife strolling by. Declaring that this is a bad idea, he takes Shihan and drives off. The two of them start debating what to do that evening, but Bunja cuts them off. The boy fixes the sink after hearing from his grandmother that it is leaking once more. He remembers his mother giving him a bath while he is working on it. Simultaneously, Shihan explores the house and takes in the pictures of the young man and his family. Everybody has a story, and she feels so bad because she can't remember her own. The young man reconsiders, thinking back on his pleasant experiences, and chooses to help Beyond Cole. The ghost starts telling him and Shihan about his relationship with his wife as they make their way back to his house. 8 years ago, they met while working at a coffee shop, and since then, they have become extremely close. Pretending to be Beyond Cole's cousin is the young man's best chance of breaking into the house. Naturally, the ghost gives him all the information required to put on a convincing show. Pretending that his cousin has informed him about his intentions to install a bathtub in their house, the young man knocks on Yan's door. The young man wants to finish the job and install the tub himself in memory of his cousin. After the group enters the house, Yan is distracted by the young man's request for some paperwork. As Beyond Cole leads the boy to another bedroom to search for gold, Shihan follows her. They eventually find the gold concealed in the AC system after multiple failed attempts. Screaming, Shihan tells them that the young man has arrived and Yen is on his way back to the living room. Yen is having a conversation when she gets a call from Beyond Cole's office, and the young man offers to drive her somewhere. 2 detectives pay his grandmother a visit at the same time. When Chong and Tan visit the grandmother, they ask her who drove the boy's mother's taxi home the night before. She phones the young man to find out more about it, not knowing that information exists. Remarkably, the young man acknowledges that he did not operate the taxi home. The young man is compelled to end the call when a lawyer from Beyond Cole's previous employer shows up. 2 elderly individuals who claim to be Beyond Cole's parents appear while the lawyer is having a conversation with Yen. Because his mother abandoned him when he was a child, the ghost is unable to recognize them. But the woman presents the attorney with certain documents proving they are his parents. The woman gives Yen a banking book and says she opened a bank account for her son to deposit money into when he was a child during their private conversation. The ghost later reveals that Beyond Cole was once allergic to apricots, despite the woman's later claims that he loved them. In addition, the woman finds that Yen has not released her marriage license, which she uses to request a reimbursement from the business for Cole's passing. Yen is naturally upset with her, but the woman claims to give Yen a sizable chunk of the refund. Later, the elderly couple admits they are con artists as they drive along in their car. The woman discloses that she got to know Beyond Cole through meeting his real mother while incarcerated. Other than that, the young man drives Yen home and then goes back to his own residence. Using the apricots as an example, the boy expresses his suspicions that there is a problem with Beyond Cole's purported parents. A true mother would never ignore a food allergy because her first concern is for her children's safety. Cole's mother used to live in this house, which the young man and Shihan discover the following morning. After figuring out Cole's birthday is the door passcode, the boy gains entry into the house. When he comes across a picture of Cole's real mother with the con man, he knows he was right all along. Cole remembers being dropped off at the orphanage by his mother when he was a child, and this is how the ghost shows him this picture. Gazing at her hand, he recalled that his mother's right hand bore a mark. The young man meets with Yen once more to share his concerns with her. They must now reconvene with the attorney and provide evidence that the scammer is not Cole's biological mother. Yes, The young man sets up the meeting, and the lawyer asks to see the woman's fingerprints. The young man removes the glove the woman is wearing, but she is reluctant to show her right hand. Still, that doesn't prove anything to the attorney. When her fingerprint is given to the lawyer, he observes that it is faded. The woman explains that her current circumstances are a result of her history of hard work. Falsely claiming to be hurt by the mistrust, she takes a hair out of her head and asks for a DNA test. She is conscious, though, that they will have nothing to compare her hair to now that Cole is deceased. After Yen faints and is brought to the hospital, Dr. Du finds out that she is 3 months pregnant. The young man tells the woman that she made a mistake when they see her again down the hall. By comparing the DNA of the baby and the woman's hair, the group can actually conduct the DNA test. The young man interrupts the elderly couple when a lawyer calls them again, presenting proof that the woman is not Beyond Cole's mother. The woman asks how they managed to do this, and the young man tells her that he returned to the office to get her hair after everyone had left. All the con artist can do is take the money and run from the scene. The con artists manage to get away by navigating the hospital's hallways as the young man follows after them. The money problem is solved as they leave the hospital, and Yen will be the one to claim it. After spending some time by himself, the young man meets Shihan, who is incredibly proud of him. Shihan suggests they give each other a high five since the two of them are attracted to one another. But before they can accomplish that, Shihan floats through him and falls to the ground. Even though he knows he won't be able to touch her, the young man still extends his hand to help her up. The young man discovers that Shihan is wearing his mother's bracelet as they reach out for each other's hands. How Shihan got the bracelet is a mystery to her. Yen breaks the conversation and expresses her gratitude to the young man for all of his assistance. When the taxi driver discovers that Yen has left Cole's old banking books in the car, he does not get out and instead drives the woman home. Yen is battling the con artists who have come to exact revenge on her inside the house. Beyond Cole tells the young man about them as soon as he runs outside. The door to her apartment is locked as the boy dashes back there. Yen begs the criminals to spare her because doing so will also hurt her unborn child. But the crooks brandish a knife to threaten her. Beyond Cole grows more worried, and the more frantic he gets, the more he tries to pry open the door and let the young man in. Even though his form is irrelevant, he eventually manages to unlock the lock. The young man dashes inside to shield Yen from the criminals' harm. After the scammers are apprehended by the police, Yen is free to resume her previous life. But before all is well, there's one more thing the young man needs to do. He informs Yen that Beyond Cole is with them in spirit form. Beyond Cole starts talking, and the young man addresses his wife directly. His words touch Yen, who realizes that this has to be her husband. If these details weren't true, there's no way the young man would know about them and discuss them. Beyond Cole is free to pass from this world to the next after saying his last words to his wife. Upon his return home, the young man immediately begins searching for the bracelet he gave his mother. When his grandma sees him going through his mother's things, she questions him about it. The young man is searching for the bracelet, which he and his mother held in great significance. To make it special, he had included a lot of little touches. Grabbing her phone, his grandmother shows him some pictures of his mother sporting the bracelet. The driver spots his mother and Shihan taking a selfie in one of the strangest pictures, which suggests the two women knew one another. The young man inquires about the bracelet once more when he is by himself with Shihan. Though the ghost is unable to recall it, she is adamant that they look into this hint. She might be able to discover more about herself if one clue leads to another. The two detectives investigating his mother's case call the young man the following day as he is operating his taxi. They disclose that a motorbike left his mother dead on the side of the road. When the young man sees the detectives at the coffee shop, he tells them that the air conditioning makes the place cold, so they should sit outside so that Shihan can smell the coffee. Shihan is curious about what transpired that evening and, more significantly, why the young man chose not to use his mother's cab. The young man's perspective of what happened that night is revealed through a flashback. He was talking to his mother on the phone and they were going to dinner. The young man's mother abruptly hung up when he heard odd noises. After that, he ran until he located his mom. Trying to save her before the ambulance arrived, Dr. Du was on top of her. The young man thought about taking his mother's taxi to the hospital since there wasn't enough room in the ambulance for everyone, but He quickly realized that he should leave the scene so that the police could conduct their investigation. The young man returns to the present and says he is frustrated with the detectives. They should find the person who ran over his mother and do their job, not drink coffee and ask meaningless questions. Then, in an attempt to locate a clue, the young man and Shihan visit his mother's grave. A strange man stands at a safe distance and takes pictures of them while they are talking. Meanwhile, worried about her grandson's private life, Bunja makes the decision to get in touch with a girl who seems to like him. That girl is Soy, a young nurse at Dahan Hospital who assists Dr. Du. Soy has a busy day, but Bunja invites her over for a drink with her and her grandson. A man is taken to the hospital with injuries. After being initially stabilized by Dr. Du, the man is now in critical condition. When Du gets back to the ER, he shoves a male nurse out of the way and tries to revive him. Regretfully, he must notify the man's family that he has passed away. Later, while driving, the young man picks up a passenger. This young man has superhuman abilities because he can see Shihan with blue eyes. This man turns out to be flower medium, and the young man pulls over to talk to him. In an attempt to rid Shihan of her, the medium pulls out a spell written on yellow paper, but the young man stops him. He should stay away from ghosts, the medium informs him. He has no idea what he's doing. But the medium gives the young man a card and turns to leave because he is not persuaded. Then, instead of the ghost being attached to the car, the young driver's phone is where the young man and Shihan find it. The ghost is drawn to the young man by the phone and becomes very close to him. The phone's battery runs out, and the ghost vanishes while the two of them can't stop thinking about each other. The young man looks for and cannot find a charger to buy. Then he gets sidetracked by several customers getting into his taxi, and the evening ends up being very successful for him. Shihan, meantime, is imprisoned in a shadowy area that resembles the netherworld. When the young man gives his grandmother a ride the following morning, she discovers the broken phone. Bunja takes it and throws it in the recycling bin after the young man tells her it's not working. She cannot be stopped by the young man. As time goes on, the young man thinks about going back to his regular life, but everything around him makes him think of his ghost crush, Shihan. Shihan, meanwhile, is imprisoned in the underworld. A woman and her infant appear, then vanish once more from her view. The young man gets the phone out of the recycling bin and buys a charger in the real world. When he gets home, he plugs the phone into the charger, and it starts charging. When Shihan returns, he finds himself in the young man's arms. They are drawn to each other, even though they know a relationship between them would not work. All they can do for the time being is continue their little ghost business, fulfilling wishes and helping spirits reach catharsis. The young man picks up a ghost one night who is unable to pay for the ride. The ghost tries to run away, but Shihan stops her. This ghost tells them to contact another ghost who will help them with their business, because she doesn't have any money. This other ghost shows them where to go in Seoul, to a bus station, where he tells them ghosts congregate during the day so the young man can pick up a lot of them and charge for his services. Shihan is ecstatic to find a sizable gathering of ghosts forming a line at the bus station the following day. As Shihan talks to a few of them to find out what they would like, the ghost of a young man with glasses moves closer to her. One of Shihan's old college roommates is Sinan. Recalling how happy she was in college, he tells Shihan her true name. Sinan shows her an old photo of the two of them together and leads her and the young man to a store that used to belong to him. Shihan recognizes the woman in the picture as the one she saw holding a baby in the netherworld. The girl was Shihan's best friend. Sinan informs her. After helping the young man open a safe, Sinan finds a stash of cash inside. To make the leap, Sinan wants him to keep the money and support him in achieving his objectives. The young man then takes Shihan to her former school, where they learn that she was a former martial arts champion. Subsequently, the driver asks the medium if ghosts can change into different clothes while purchasing a mirror with ghost-reflecting capabilities. They try it out at home, and Shihan is able to get dressed differently. With a long wish list, Sinan seems to be in love with Shihan. He wants to go shopping with her, then watch a movie, and then go out to dinner. However, he asks his grandmother to help him eat the food he ordered because he feels awkward dating an empty chair. In the meantime, the youth develops jealousy. Sinan also tells him that two ghosts who fall in love have the ability to go together to the next plane of existence. The young man proceeds to purchase a ring for Sinan, as it is his ultimate intention to present him with one. The young man, overwhelmed by everything, chooses to take a break at a wellness center. There, he meets the flower medium, who informs him that if love blossoms in a ghost's heart, the ghost can make the transition. The police detectives meet with Sue, another officer, and Shihan's father. In the interim, the father informs the detectives that Shihan was working on her best friend's case prior to her disappearance. Although his daughter thought the woman and her child were killed somewhere else, her best friend was said to have passed away in the ER. After spending some time with SY, the young man finds it difficult to feel anything for her. When he eventually gets home, he makes the decision to take Shihan to see a former classmate. When he gives the ghost their moment, Sinan tells Shihan that they can both go from this world. But Shihan doesn't love him, so she can't make this leap. Simultaneously, the young man rushes back to see them because he regrets leaving them alone. He is worried that Shihan will go forever as he walks into the room and sees Sinan making the leap. Still, since she doesn't love Sinan, he can't shake his ghost crush. Shihan teases him when they go outside because it's obvious he's scared of losing her. They still have a lot of work to do to figure out what happened to her, so the young man plays it cool and acts like he didn't want her to go. They meet with the medium soon after in the hopes of finding out more. As the medium prepares to cast a spell on Shihan's phone, she screams and blows the spell out of the medium's hand out of fear of transitioning. After that, the medium hypnotizes Shihan to relive some of his past experiences. It's evident to Shihan that she was looking into her best friend's death and that she had questioned a private investigator about some pictures he had. When she awakens, she goes to the private investigator's office with a young man. But everyone has left the office and everything has been cleared out. They both have to veer off course. A moment of effort later, a child gets into their taxi and asks for help. Little H. June asks the young man to assist him in finding his sister after learning that this taxi bestows wishes. Shihan is still alive, but the boy is still able to see him. After the group disperses, Shihan takes the boy to multiple stores to ask about his sister, who has gone missing. As this is going on, Zoe sees a male nurse named Kim Jong stealing medications from the hospital. After telling Do, the doctor asks Kim Hyun, another nurse, to bring him some statistics. Do observes that there have been more deaths since Kim Jong joined the hospital after looking over the personnel. While filming the male nurse stealing the medications, the doctor sets up a trap. When the young man returns, he runs into some girls who know his sister Hale, who has gone missing. Speaking with Gon, a girl who used to work at the same grocery store as Hale, is what he is mainly interested in doing. The girl tells the rest of the girl group about an incident where Hale helped her get out of trouble, but they don't want to listen. A flashback reveals how Hale was once intimidated by these girls into stealing cigarettes for them. In the present, Gon is approached by a young man who offers her a ride in his taxi, which acts as a secure haven. Gon receives a call from the bullying girl group's leader, who threatens to stop talking to her. The young man is ambushed by a gang that night. They were paid by the girl bully to beat him up. Police detectives are called and show up in time to assist the young man even though he has been beaten. Following treatment for his hand, the young man resumes his hunt for the missing girl. Her phone is found by the police, who also note that the girl left a farewell message on it. Shihan thinks that the people who killed the girl were probably behind this setup. When Shihan makes the decision to speak up, a flashback reveals how she and Hale made the decision to confront the bullies. But Hale was unintentionally killed by the bullies when they attacked her. The leader of the bullies threatened to kill everyone if they didn't remain silent, so they cover her up. Right now, Shihan points the young man in the right way while he looks for the girl. Shihan catches and holds his hand when he stumbles. After some time, they locate the girl, who is still alive, and take her to the hospital. The girl's spirit shows up at the hospital and expresses gratitude to the team for finding her. Although everyone thinks the girl is dead, she actually wakes up when her ghost disappears and her soul re-enters her body. The girl made amends with Gon after her whole family expressed gratitude to the young man. After yet another incident at the hospital, Kim Jang is let go. Kim Jang is forced to retreat when Sui stops him in his attack attempt. This gives the young man and Shihan a chance to relax and spend time together. As they get closer, Their hopes rise because the previous night, Shihan was able to briefly appear and grasp his hand. Their faces are very close when they get into the taxi, but Shihan recalls something an old classmate said to her. She would be able to move on if she fell in love with the young man. Shihan retreats and keeps her distance from him because she knows that if she falls in love with him, she will disappear. In spite of this, they choose to adhere to a custom from the local Korean community and bury a heart bearing their names in a meaningful spot. They come across Do and Sway while doing this. When Shihan remembers that he was previously treated by this doctor, the young man asks if he recognizes his mother by showing him a photo of the two of them. The girl is deceased, but the doctor recalls seeing her once. That evening, the young man looks up Shihan online and finds that she doesn't have any social media accounts. He shows the detectives the same photo when he visits the police station early the following morning. After initially being reluctant, the detectives tell him that his mother was acquainted with Shihan via a program called Cop Taxi, which transported police officers in taxis. This suggests that Shihan was a law enforcement official. Meanwhile, Dr. Do is attacked by the male nurse when she returns to the hospital. When security shows up, Kim Jang is forced to leave even though she cuts Do's arm successfully. Asking if ghosts can actually materialize, the young man goes back to the medium. He is told by the flower medium that it is not possible and is urged to give up on his dreams of living a lifetime with this ghost. Additionally, he warns the young man to avoid ghosts because they can turn into evil spirits if they lose their way. In the meantime, Dr. Do is questioned by police detectives about why he thinks Kim Jang attacked him. The doctor tells them that the male nurse is upset because Do caught him stealing some drugs from the hospital, so that's an easy answer. Kim Han alerts the detectives to the hospital's recent high death rate before they depart. The young man later witnesses his grandmother working while traveling. His grandmother declines when he takes her home and asks her to stop participating in the program because they need the money to pay off their loan. The young man acts the following morning, visiting the private eye that Jian had previously cornered. The driver shows him the photo, but since the young man won't pay him or hire him, Gung, the investigator, isn't in the mood to go into further detail. The boy is expelled from his office by him. When Gung is by himself, he remembers Ramu's earlier visit. The officer had asked him to take some unusual pictures of people who were grieving for loved ones because one of his clients had asked him to do so. In actuality, Gung had no idea who was paying him for those pictures, despite having informed him at the time that he couldn't disclose the information of his clients. When the young man visits S at the hospital in the present, he asks about Jian's cause of death. The girl was brought to the hospital unconscious, the nurse says, and her condition was stabilized at first, but it quickly deteriorated and she passed away. Jian tells the young man when he gets home that the case is getting more and more complicated and that she probably passed away while trying to find out what happened to her best friend. Once the young man has taken her, they head back to the hospital, where Dr. Do hears the driver talking by himself. After a brief conversation, the young man keeps exploring the hospital until Kodu's ghost shows up. After dying in this hospital, Kodu, a police officer, was left trapped in this world for 5 years. In return for additional information about the hospital and the dismissed nurse Kim Jang, he offers the young man his assistance. Kodu wants to spend one last moment with his daughter. Kodu overworked when his daughter was a young child. He was actually so far away from her that his daughter started to hate him and they stopped communicating. Though he is unable to locate his daughter, the young man offers to assist him. He spends some time with Jian the following morning in an attempt to assist her in materializing once more, but it turns out to be more challenging than they had anticipated. Koda thinks his former partner will know something about his daughter, though. It just so happens that his former partner, Harong Soo. He sets up a meeting with the young man. Jian's heart aches the moment she sees him. When the driver asks her about it, the ghost can't articulate her emotions. Anyway, the young man tells Sue that Kodu has helped him in the past and that all he wants to do is demonstrate to his daughter what a kind father her father was. Sue discloses that although his daughter resides in the US, she is spending the weekend in Seoul giving a talk on emerging technologies. After locating her, the young man strikes up a discussion with her. She is skeptical because she is a scientist, even though he tells her about Kodu's presence. But while she's getting ready for her next presentation, a spotlight collapses and Kodu saves her before the lights fall on her head. She's sure now that her father is here. At her father's grave, the group reunites with her. After the young man speaks her father's last words, the woman accepts his departure from her life and lets him pass on to the next realm. After clearing that up, the young man finds his apartment and his sister's ghost just outside of it, making Kim Jang a prime suspect at this point. Upon entering the apartment, they learn of the passing of his sister, Mij Jang. She maintains that her brother did not kill her, despite the fact that she cannot recall how she passed away. The young man finds the photos that the private investigator had taken for an unidentified client. These photos would typically point to Kim Jang as the cause of the numerous deaths that have occurred. However, the young man feels that this is much too clear. Kim Jang would not have put these photos on display in his room if he was the murderer. When Jian's form abruptly flickers, it becomes apparent that she is not fully dead but rather is in a coma inside her own house, under her father's protection. Once she is stabilized, Kim Hyun shows up and reports the young man to the police, but not before letting Dr. Do know that he is there. It is revealed in a brief flashback that Kim Hyun has known Do since he was a young child. The boy was abused by his grandfather, but the nurse, who was watching him at the time, intervened by threatening to call the police. The young man is briefly detained but is soon freed because there is no proof that he killed Mij Jang. She has actually been deceased for over a week. In addition, the police tell him that Kim Jang is still at large and that the motorcycle that ran over his mother has been located. Jian discovers a picture of herself with her father just before they leave the police station, which helps her recall more of her past. She had previously been a police officer in her father's department. The young man makes the decision to see Sue once more, but he keeps his ability to see his daughter a secret. He tells him that his daughter was a friend of his and that he is curious to find out the truth about her passing. He also shows him a photo of his mother with Jian. Additionally, the driver runs into Mij again, who says her brother is a good man. She clarifies that her brother stole the drugs from the hospital because she used to use drugs as well. He did it for her, even though it was improper. Next, Mij Jang shows them where her brother might be hiding, a big, exquisite home. She discloses that Kim Hyun is the owner of the house. She knows this even though her pay is insufficient because she occasionally went fishing with her brother. Do watches the young man through the house's cameras while he looks to see if anyone is inside. Sue is informed by the young man of this new information, and together they learn that Kim Hyun was raised in an orphanage. Besides, Do's grandfather had been the previous owner of that big house. Hong Soo enlists the young man to assist in the investigation, but he must temporarily depart because one of his friends from the taxi business lost her mother, who is now revealed to have passed away as a result of Do's care. Attending the funeral, Do acts as though he is grieving over the woman's passing, but Jian catches him grinning out of habit. The young man sees the woman's ghost when he steps outside. He calls his friend and tells her all her mother wants to say. The friend is skeptical, but since the young man is talking about things he can't possibly know, she thinks her mother's ghost is here. Detectives from the police find Go Bang's body in his office at the same moment. They also find a photo that Go Bang had retained as security. It features a motorcycle with Do's logo applied to it. Kim Jang was not one of the nurses who received this emblem upon graduating from Do's nursing school. When Kim Hyun meets Do, she tells him to stop because they could be caught, which is when the truth comes out. A flashback depicts Kim Hyun killing Do's grandfather in the end because the grandfather was mistreating the boy. After that, the two of them shared a home, and Do got the entirety of his grandfather's property. Dee makes the decision to act and goes to the young man's home on the pretense of bringing Bun Jae her medication because she neglected to go to the hospital. After the young man gets him a drink, Do starts to explore the house. Jian tells the young man after trailing behind him. After spotting Do, the driver chooses to deal his next card. The young man found a letter in Kim Jong's apartment that told Kim Jang to get in touch with the writer if he needed help. Following his visit to Kim Hyun for some mind games and Jian's flashbacks, the young man goes to the hospital and contrasts the note with multiple writing samples. He observes that Kim Hyun's writing style is reflected in the letters on the note. When Do asks the girl why she let the young driver look through her files, she tells him false information about the young man's interactions with Jian. Everyone cooperates with the police's investigation when they show up at the hospital a short while later with a warrant in hand. After leaving the hospital, Du travels to a secluded area where he hatches a plan to kill Kim Jong, who is restrained to the ground. Just as Jian is about to disappear once more, she stabilizes and shows that she is still alive as medical professionals tend to her actual body. The young man advises them to move swiftly and perhaps even offer Kim Hyun some bait. When he visits her apartment, he tells her that he knows about the note she wrote to Kim Jang and also shows her a picture of the motorcycle, which suggests that he knows she owns the one that hit his mother. The young man leaves the flat after promising to bring her down. But the moment he steps outside the structure, a bat hits him, rendering him unconscious. He wakes up and discovers that he is strapped to a chair next to Kim Jong's lifeless body. Du acknowledges that he killed everyone and that he is a twisted man. Even though he killed his mother, he tells the young man that he enjoyed being loved by him for supposedly helping her. Du likes to see people suffer, so he hired a private investigator to take pictures of bereaved families. A flashback shows what happened the day Jian and the driver's mother passed away as Du douses the young man in gasoline. The young man and his mother had a fight that morning as a result of her long hours of work to pay back their loan. He then enrolled in college with the intention of becoming a police officer. His mother, Kim Jang, drove Jian to an event even though he had resigned following her mother's passing and gave her a bracelet to make her seem friendlier. Jian was investigating Kim H that day because she thought Du and Kim H were connected to her friend's demise. She went to her apartment pretending to be her friend, and they had drinks, but Du found out about her scheme and tried to kill her. Jian retaliated as Du captured her suffering on camera. Jian held the phone and connected. When Jian arrived at Kim Jang's cab, Du was trailing her. Jian dropped her phone and passed out in the car. Kim H struck her with his motorcycle as Kim Jang tried to remove her. Du tried to kill Kim Jang, but he killed her in the hospital after pretending to help her because a young man had arrived and there were people present. The young man and everyone else left the scene, and Kim Hyun came back to take the car's black box. She gave Gon away and left the cab. When Du returns to the present, he tries to burn the young man alive, but the cops save him. A quick flashback shows that Hwang-soo was able to track the young man's whereabouts because he had downloaded an app on his phone. Jian is devastated by the recent events back home, but she knows they must go on. She sobs uncontrollably. Her soul won't stop until Du makes amends for his transgressions. It is revealed by another flashback that Du killed Cole. He substituted a dangerous medication for his original prescription, which made him queasy and led to an accident at work. Du is taken into custody by the police, but they lack solid proof of his guilt. Du, who says he is the victim in this case, attacks the young man as he tries to trap him. Jian starts to fade away, but the young man and he decide to take the phone to a tech guy so they can get the videos back and use them as proof. They choose to halt the process. Du puts in a covert camera in the young man's car that evening. Later on, the driver finds Kim Jang's ghost. He remembers Kim Hyun recommending that he spend some time hiding out in her big home. She also said she would take care of his sister, but she ended up killing her. Kim Jang loses his mind and is about to turn into a demonic spirit, but his sister intervenes and pleads with him to stay with her. The young man is told by Kim Jang that he has a covert recording of his chat with Kim Hyun in his parents' former home. Then he and his sister transition young men find this tape in Du's hidden camera, but since he doesn't know where Du is, he chooses to go see Kim Hyun in order to frighten her. After that, he bides his time until she leaves the house before pursuing her. He is driven directly to Du's location by the former nurse. They get into a fight and Du ends up taking the phone. He touches it now, and he sees Gon. Burning the phone, Du destroys Jian and gets rid of the evidence that was used against him. But as the cops capture Du, Jian's soul returns to her body. The young men are let down, but Hwang-soo comes to see him and tells him that his daughter is still alive. He took her home and hired his own doctors after someone tried to kill her in the hospital. As the two men make eye contact, Hwang-soo leads the young man to the love of his life, who awakens. Detectives are questioning Du in the meantime, but when Kim Hyun shows up at the police station and makes up a confession that she did all the murders Du is charged with, Du is released from custody. This results in the release of Du and the imprisonment of Kim Hyun. Kim Hyun makes the unimaginable decision that evening in jail. Do's freedom annoys everyone, so they come up with a scheme. Jian is told that she is now a patient at the hospital when Do returns because everyone thought she had passed away. Do thinks he has a chance to eliminate her for good, but the police and a young man step in and stop him. Do kidnaps Sue and makes off for his car. Do manages to take off, but he is eventually stopped by a young man. Do threatens to commit suicide despite the doctor's ability to elude the police, but a young man disarms him and assures him that he won't let him pass away so easily. His crimes have to be paid for. Now that everything is in order, Jian and the young men can go on a date and share their first kiss. After being imprisoned, Dr. Do receives a visit from 3 evil spirits who have been waiting to exact their revenge on him on his first night there. Jian reports for duty the following day, but the chief gives her the day off so she can relax. Young men take advantage of the chance to go out with her once more and present her to their pals. In the end, a young man makes peace with his mother's ghost after finding her. Jian apologizes for being the reason behind her death, and young men apologize to her for blaming her that morning. Before she transitions, Kim Jang wishes them both happiness and extends her forgiveness. The young couple ultimately chooses to continue working with ghosts. They find a female ghost one night, but Jian can't see her because she's turned into a regular human. Either way, the woman says she can pay them by showing them a money bag some gangsters have stashed away in a secret place. The young men then start driving.